It was the best of times, it was the worst of times. Introduction to Dickens' Tale of Two Cities, reflecting on a period of intense upheaval and transition within Europe. A time for some presenting a lot of fear and a lot of threat. And this reflecting out into their worlds. Elements of the eternal struggle between light and darkness, wisdom and folly, the forces of good and the forces of evil. More than half a century ago, Rachel Carson published Silent Spring, underlining the very powerful and oftentimes negative effect of humans on nature, particularly when allied with powerful market interests. Some 10 years or so later, Lovelock drew together from other theorists a synergistic and interrelational model of the Earth, the biosphere, and all life. This became known as the Gaia theory. Gaia was, of course, originally presented as the ancestral mother of life, the Earth Spirit. Lovelock avoided or wouldn't commit to the concept of a chain of sentience. If the planet itself gives life and sentience to living things, then itself must be living and sentient, capable of relational engagement, capable of love, but also consequential punishment, action and reaction. Currently, areas are subject to disproportionately and damaging high temperatures or other extreme variance in climate and environmental conditions. For some, this seems to sit within a cycle of crisis, part of which is environmental. Individually, we are increasingly aware of the need to operate in harmony with, symbiotically with our environment and with nature. There are consequences, collectively, but more importantly, for ourselves individually. We must read and interpret the signs. One of the areas in which there is pressing need is to reorientate our relationship with animals and the sentient living world. A range of researchers, including Eisler et al. In 2014 and more recently the Lancet study 2019, reports that current practice of farming animals for meat and for milk production is planetarily unsustainable. An extraordinary waste of high quality grain and vegetation which could be fed or consumed directly by human beings. Reduced animal production and consumption provides a real opportunity to accelerate the rewilding and reforestation of large areas of the planet. Again, a range of research papers, including the WHO 2015, Springman et al. 2016, suggest increasing evidence that human health is perfectly sustainable, if not actually enhanced by reducing or even avoiding animal products. Kiman et al. In 2013 suggests disease fostered in animal farming, and particularly within intensive animal husbandry, impacts both on the animals, tragically, but indirectly and directly on human health, and significantly on the environment as well. Again, concerns in relation to our over-focus on animal farming and the consumption of animal produce was underlined by the most recent Lancet Commission Report 2019 on Food, Planet and Health. There are significant environmental consequences as a result of animal husbandry. For example, Eggleston 2019 suggests that dairy herds of milk producing cows require between possibly 30 to 50 gallons of water per cow per day. They can also generate up to 30 kilograms of feces per day. Not so difficult or health threatening when deposited in open field systems, but of increasing concerns is the relationship to toxic and public health consequences of animal slurry. In his 2019 work, Carsten Brenzing explored evidence of culture and abstract thought within animals. What do animals think and feel? Without attempting to anthropomorphize, he suggests that within a range of species there is evidence of high intelligence, conceptual thinking and logic. Brenzing suggests that many creatures exhibit clear evidence of grief and grieving on loss. Darras et al. 2014 suggests undoubtedly that cows grieve the loss of their calves. There is evident dissonance or paradox in relation to many people's approach to animals. Perhaps a brief example. Within the UK, there are possibly 47 million pheasants released for sports shooting during the season each year. Figures taken from the Conservation Trust 2019. Thompson from the RSPB in 2020 suggests that of those 47 million, possibly only 15 million are actually shot and killed, with a significant proportion of the remainder, possibly as much as 30 million birds, trying to compete for food resources. They are predated or die of starvation or disease, and much within the first year of their release. The pheasant is a beautiful bird originally from areas such as Asia, but is not natural to the UK. Madden and Whiteshead suggests that if the bird is naturally reared, it is perfectly capable of intuitive action, sustaining itself and avoiding predation. They also suggest that when intensively reared and not facilitated to develop naturally, the bird cannot easily sustain itself within the UK ecosystem. The birds are reared to be shot, and having been driven into the air by beaters, only a proportion of those shot are actually eaten. The retention of large areas of land for these sporting purposes absorbs extraordinary ecological resources. For many, the idea of misusing dogs or horses to face a factory-farmed life and tragic death within possibly meat-packing units would be an anathema. This generates a certain dissonance, paradox, or inconsistency within our approach to nature, individually and collectively. Dissonance translates to discomfort and loss of ease, or dis-ease. If we were to explore the issue theologically, Genesis 1 and 2 clearly directs humankind to fill the earth and subdue it, to rule over all living things. However, the clear direction on what to eat and consume is to take plants that bear seed everywhere on earth, and every tree bearing fruit which yields seed, they should be your food. Genesis does not direct humankind to dominance of the earth. What it directs towards is sovereignty or stewardship. With rights, with power, comes significant responsibility. The principles of noblesse oblige. Within our own time, we have the power of alchemy at our disposal in many areas of science, but particularly and including within food production and nutrition. Part of what sustained previous models of human slavery and subjugation was the erroneous belief that whilst the other had some characteristics of Homo sapiens sapiens, they were not essentially comparable. That then appeared to justify the abuse and suffering that those groups were subjected to. If we do not like what nature sometimes appears to deal to us, then we should reconsider our relationship with nature. The earth and nature are sentient, operating to an integrated system. Damage or misuse to part of the system will undoubtedly resonate in other parts of the system. It is a living force which must be respected. Failure to do so will have serious and irreversible consequences for individuals. Nature has a long, accurate, and individually focused memory. The inconvenient truth is that much of what we do to sustain our consumption amounts to lifestyle choices. It is the time to move beyond primitive, unsustainable, and deeply damaging approaches to our individual engagement with the earth. The current pandemic is perhaps an indicator of what a dislocated relationship with nature can unleash. Within the worst of times, but also within the best of times, we have a unique opportunity to review our approach, to re-engage with the forces of nature and redirect our pathway. We are urged to seize this opportunity. Failure to do so will produce consequences, both collectively, but importantly for us individually. I am Dr. John Power, and I'm based in Northern Ireland. I hope that this was of some value, and thank you for listening.